typing in the Way to a Wonderful Life channel. And once again, you'll find over 200 of my radio broadcasts that you can listen to on that channel 24/7 in both English and Spanish. So this morning, our Way to a Wonderful Life message is going to be a prosperity review, because we've been talking about prosperity all throughout August, and here we are almost halfway through the month of August. So the prosperity means that we realize that increase in whatever it is that we seek to realize an increase in, whether it be in money, whether it be in health, whether it be in joy, whether it be in loving companionship, whatever it is, or just a greater interest in life, a greater enthusiasm in life, a greater love for life, and just realize that whenever we take it into our mind that good desire of our heart is God's good desire for us, that we shall find ourselves realizing that good in the most wonderful way. Let's look at these words from the great Eric Butterworth. He tells us, the law is, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The law is, this is a law. It's not just a statement. It's a law. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. That's from the Gospel of Luke 12:32. So if we realize that this is a law and we accept it and we believe it and we open our mind to the realization of it, then we realize and we will find that God is our all-sufficiency, our instant and constant and abundant supply in all things good that we can imagine for ourselves. And as we keep allowing ourselves to believe this and affirm this is the truth for us every day, then we will see some amazing and wonderful things happening in our life. You know, Jesus said, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And what did he say the Father was? He said the Father is Spirit. So we must worship him, give our attention to him, align our thoughts with him, realize the nature of him in spirit and in truth. So as we realize that the nature of God is Spirit, we know we must stir up the Spirit within us and have faith and have enthusiasm and realize within ourselves that we can expect our good to come to us in expected and unexpected ways. That all manner of good can come to us if we just open our mind to the infinite, to God, to the presence and the power that created all that we see. Now, the great Paul Ellsworth, in his 1914 book, Direct Healing, said poverty, which includes lack of wealth, health, and love, is rooted in the subconsciousness. It consists of a race idea, in other words, a world belief, built into the very matrix of every man's soul, that he is a creature, that he is a creation instead of a creator, that he is a creation rather than a creator. So it's important for us to realize that we are always creating through our thoughts, through our words, through the images that we bring into our mind, and through whatever it is that we believe about anything. If we believe about something negative about something, then we will see that negative experience in our life in some way, shape, or form. But if we believe that no matter what it is that we see, that God is present, just like gravity is present, the air that we breathe is present, then we realize that if God is present, then good is present. Where God is, good is, and so it is. We must take that into our mind and accept it as the truth for us every day. So Paul Ellsworth tells us as long as we believe that we were formed by an exterior power and that our life is directed and surrounded by manifestations of that power, even if we call it God or the infinite Spirit, we are going to express in all that we do and all that we are this false idea. We're always going to keep thinking that something outside of us is creating. God works through us, through our own ideas, through our own faith, through our own understanding of God's truth for us, our God's relationship with us. And when we read in the Scriptures, way back in the book of Genesis, the primitive man allowed that thought to come through his mind from that infinite intelligence that we were created in the image and the likeness of God. And not only have we been created in the image and the likeness of God, which is intelligence, which is spirit, which is power, but God is giving us dominion and authority over those things that concern us. And how do we take that dominion and authority? By the realization that our thoughts, that our words, that the images that we bring into our mind And that power of God within us, the spoken word of I am, which no one can say for us, I am, that's the power of God within us to announce, to declare, to affirm what it is that we choose to experience and what it is that we believe about a thing. Dr. Joseph Murphy, the great Dr. Joseph Murphy, who wrote that worldwide popular classic book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, said, accept nothing mentally that does not fill your soul with joy. Accept nothing mentally which does not fill your soul with joy. So we know that unless it brings us a feeling of joy, a feeling of peace, then it's not of God. It's not of the Spirit. So therefore, it's not the truth. The truth is always bringing us a feeling of joy, always bringing us that refreshment to our soul, that renewing of our mind, that God is right here with us. God is always available to us. That it's God within us, that dwells within us, that gives us power, that moves through our intelligence as ideas and images that will prosper us. The great Dr. Frank Richelieu, in his book, The Art of Being Yourself, he wrote, the first thing to know about prosperity is that your good does not come from the outside. It comes from within your own mind, your own heart, your own soul, your own images, your own beliefs, your own thoughts, your own faith, and your own words. So we want to use formative words. I am realizing a greater prosperity today in money and health and joy and happiness and love and all things good. I have a prosperous life, a joyful life, a wonderful life, as I recognize and realize the abundant life is ours to receive, ours to claim. Just as Jesus tells us, I have come to tell you that you may have life and you may have it more abundantly, more abundantly. So Dr. Frank Richelieu writes, the first thing to know about prosperity is that your good does not come from the outside. It comes from within. And the second thing to know is that it is the open hand that gives and receives. The open hand that gives and receives. Anything you have that you do not use, you will eventually lose. Say to yourself, I am prosperous. I am prosperous in mind, heart, body, and spirit. I am prosperous. I am prosperous in mind, heart, body, and spirit. I am prosperous in health. I am prosperous in ideas. I am prosperous in love. I am prosperous in friendship. I see and feel the prospering power of the infinite flowing through me, through my mind, my heart, my soul. I receive my good and I share my good. I keep my good in circulation and it is never ceasing. If you do this, he tells us, the doors of life will open and your demand will be met. The law of increase will bring your good into your life. The law of increase will bring your good into your life. So let's realize that what Dr. Frank is trying to get us to do is to stir up that spirit within us, to realize that God is a part of everything that we do. Some people are offended by the word God, but God is not a 4-letter word. God is a 3-letter word. And God is just a word that we use to refer to that infinite intelligence and power and spirit that the human mind can never really fully understand and conceive of, but we can conceive and understand parts of it and realize its nature. We look at, that's why Jesus said, look to nature. See the lilies, how they grow, he said. How do they grow? They grow intelligently. They're not worried about, comparing themselves to the roses or the peonies or whatever. They're just being the lily. They realize that they have a life here, that they understand their purpose. They know what they're to do. They know what they're to be. They're not running around in confusion, or they're not trying to attack other people, places, or things, or plants. They're just enjoying the sunshine and the nourishment from the Mother Earth. So if we could just get ourselves into that understanding, to realize that nature is part of God. God is always seeking to nourish us, always seeking to sustain us as we allow ourselves to affirm that God is nourishing us, God is sustaining us, and it's the God in me, the good in me, the good ideas, the good thoughts, the good images, the good words, the trusting belief that God is good, that God has a good for me, a greater good to experience, that brings all of this alive in our mind and our heart and our soul. Now, Catherine Ponder was one of the great teachers of spiritual prosperity. She wrote many, many, many books about spiritual prosperity. This is from her book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And what I'm going to read, there's actually several things in this that we need to pay attention to, and we'll just look at it. Remember, this is our prosperity review, and we're talking about prosperity all through the month of August. And just remember that whatever our mind focuses on, whatever we bring into our mind, whatever we feed our mind, we shall reap the good results. We shall see the good results of it in our experience. Catherine Ponder writes, when you are tempted to become discouraged in your efforts toward greater prosperity, remind yourself that to think according to the general beliefs of the human race is easy. To think according to the general beliefs of the human race is easy and useless. But to think prosperously in spite of appearances to the contrary is worth every effort, because it produces rich results. Another way to invoke the law of increase and thus to avoid the pettiness and destructiveness of the law of decrease is by training your mind never to be disappointed. If certain things do not come at certain expected times in the way you wished, do not consider it a failure. Since you have not received that thing, you can instead stand firm in the faith that something much better is on the way and will appear at the right time. So get your mind around that. When you seem to fail, remind yourself that it is because you have not asked big enough. You have not asked big enough. That's why the great Dr. Bitzer would say, think big. And that's why Jesus said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could move that mountain into the sea. In other words, he said, think big. Go beyond anything you ever thought before. Let your imagination come alive with the power and the spirit and the intelligence of God and start seeing your good in a greater way. Catherine Ponder says, when you seem to fail, remind yourself that it is because you have not asked big enough. Expand your viewpoint and expectation, and a larger answer than you originally anticipated will surely come. Failure is nothing but success trying to be born in a bigger way. Failure is nothing but success trying to be born in a bigger way. Most seeming failures are just installments toward victory. Most seeming failures are just installments towards victory. So if we can just bring that into our mind and just realize it as the truth for us, tell ourselves, this is the truth for me. This is the truth for me now. So I allow myself to realize that this is what I can know, this is what I can believe. And no matter what it was that we were hoping for yesterday, we were praying for yesterday, let that go. Let the bigger idea come into your mind. The great Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said, speak what you think today in hard words, that is, with conviction, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, though it contradicts everything you said today, even though it contradicts everything you said today. We may not want the things that we wanted yesterday. We may not even find any appeal in the things that we wanted last week or last month or whatever, because we're always changing. Our mind is always changing. So we have to realize that principle, as you sow, so shall you reap, which is cause and effect. It's the same thing. We must feed our mind a greater idea, feed our mind a more wonderful idea about ourselves and about our relationship to God. If we choose to realize success in our business or work, yet our mind is consumed with the ideas of competition, beliefs about business failures, and filled with doubt and fear, we will fail. We will demonstrate these ideas, beliefs, and thoughts rather than success. That is automatic. Nobody else does it to us, not the economy or our competitors. We do. But whenever we find ourselves failing in our attempts to increase, go back and remind ourselves of what Casper and Ponder said. The failure is just making way for something bigger. There's something bigger that is supposed to happen. There's something bigger that's supposed to transpire, to be experienced by us. And the failure is just opening us up to put us in a new direction, for us to seek the better idea, the greater idea that will prosper us and heal us and bless us in a more wonderful way. And remind ourselves every day of those words from the great Dr. Frank Richelieu. The first thing to know about prosperity is that your good does not come from the outside. It comes from within. It comes from within. We just take that into our mind, and we let ourselves believe it, and we let ourselves get our faith into it and say, I have faith in this. I believe this to be true for me. And the reason I believe it to be true for me is because it's intelligence, that God is intelligence. Just as Jesus said, look to nature. Nature is intelligence being permeated through everything. Nature is intelligence expressing in everything that we see. Let's look at these words from Eric Butterworth. Once again, this is from his book, Discover the Power Within You. You can buy his book on BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. He writes, the intellect of mankind, the skeptical part of your nature and mind, stands in the way. We say, after all, you must be practical. If 5,000 people are sitting on a hillside out in the country, and all they have on hand is 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish, those people are just not going to be fed. But they were fed. So we go from the practical to the spiritual reality. When Alexander Graham Bell had his telephone demonstration all set up, there were many skeptics who jeered and said, when you have someone 100 miles away, hooked up with only a small wire, you may talk all you want into that little black box, but they just won't hear you. But they did hear. And millions of times today, the same sort of hearing goes on around the world in the sophisticated telephones that have evolved from that first simple prototype. So greater ideas have come to man, greater things have come to man's awareness to create an even better telephone. But we must remember, the practical sometimes gets in the way of the spiritual possibility. Open our mind. We don't have to tell anybody else what we're going to do. As a matter of fact, it's better that we don't. Jesus said, go into the closet. Shut out all the noise and the nonsense of the world. That means go within your own mind. Go within your own mind and know that God is supporting you. The intelligence, the power, the spirit of the infinite is seeking to express something through you. And let your mind be still so you can become aware of what that is. And as Jesus said, the Father who seeth in secret will reward thee openly. In other words, keep the power of that thought, that idea to yourself until it's made manifest in the material. And when people see it, you don't have to tell them about it. They'll see it. They'll realize that there's something going on in your life that's greater than was before. They'll realize that your faith is creating something wonderful for you, and that if they just recognize that they have the same faith within themselves, they too can realize the greater, the more wonderful, the more abundant, the more joyful. We're here to enjoy life. So many people never realize just how much joy they can have until they open their mind to it and stop thinking about all the negative stuff, stop listening to all the negative stuff, just take it into their mind that our life purpose, the greatest purpose we have in life is to realize joy. In the Holy Scriptures, the ancient wisdom, we read things like the joy of the Lord is your strength. Today is the day the Lord hath made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Joy is an expression of life that each and every one of us want to feel. That way we can escape the darkness of depression. We can escape the darkness of disappointment and rejection. We can escape the darkness sometimes of the past experiences that try to hold us back to what went before. We're not here to live in the past. We're here to live in the present moment. We're here today. Today is our day. Today is our day to realize something new, something wonderful, something beautiful, something glorious in our lives. Let's look at these words from Paramahansa Yogananda, the founder of the Self-Realization Fellowship. It says, every day do some good to help others, even if it is only a pittance. That means very little. If you want to love God, you must love people. God, they are his children. Now, he's saying this in the words that he understands. They are his children. You can be helpful materially by giving to the needy, and mentally by giving comfort to the sorrowful, courage to the fearful, divine friendship and moral support to the weak. You also sow seeds of goodness when you interest others in God and cultivate in them a greater love for God, a deeper faith in God. When you leave this world, material riches will be left behind, but every good that you have done will go forth with you. Will go forth with you. So he's talking about this spirit within us that reigns supreme throughout eternity as our life. And our physical life changes. You know, we don't know what's going to happen on the other side. We don't know what happens when we make our transition. But we do know that the consciousness, the spirit in which we live, is what we take with us. It's the spirit. We don't take anything else. There's no U-Haul trucks behind the hearse. No U-Haul trucks behind the hearse. We all know that. So once again, I want to thank you for being with me this morning. It's been my great pleasure to have you, and I hope you join me for my next broadcast right here on WKDI AM 840 Radio, your ministry station, where the Way to a Wonderful Life is broadcast at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Simulcast on the internet at www.wkdiam840.com at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:30 Central Time, 7:30 Pacific Time, then rebroadcast in the evening at 7:30 Pacific Time.